This, of course, came as a huge shock, and William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family.
So Prince William has apparently authorized an immediate protocol red evacuation of his entire family from Adelaide Cottage in the dead of night. And the reason why is a structural discovery that no security audit in 4 centuries managed to catch. What was framed to the public as a routine foundation inspection at a modest cottage inside Windsor Home Park turned into a catastrophic institutional breach that exposed the heir to the throne to 2 years of unmonitored surveillance. And the fact that a fully equipped subterranean campsite was discovered 6 meters directly beneath Prince Louis's bedroom floor, complete with optical tracking gear, and a 24-month surveillance log of the Princess of Wales, is the first thing that should make you go, wait, how did this actually slip past modern royal protection? Before we dive into the 1668 Crown Estate Land Registry files and the ground-penetrating radar scans behind this emergency decommissioning, make sure you hit subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a single update on this unraveling file. The clock atop St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle struck exactly 02:15 a.m. Outdoor temperatures had plummeted to 2 degrees on a frost-covered winter night within the Windsor Home Park perimeter. At Adelaide Cottage, the modest 19th century residence selected as the primary domicile for the Prince of Wales's family. In pursuit of privacy, the atmosphere was submerged in the absolute silence of nocturnal security protocols. All surface monitoring parameters, from infrared camera networks to perimeter thermal sensors operating under the jurisdiction of the Metropolitan Police Command, are registered at standard secure states. No intrusion alerts had been logged on the Central Command Console. However, just beyond the western perimeter wall, a specialized structural engineering unit from the Crown Estate Management Board was executing an emergency geological survey. This inspection was not initiated by a security breach. Rather, it was independently triggered after micro-accelerometers embedded in the surface foundation recorded continuous anomalous mechanical subsidence oscillations for 72 hours. Initially, geotechnical reports hypothesized this to be a natural shrinkage phenomenon caused by winter temperature variations acting upon the specific clay composition of the Thames Valley. The exploratory procedure was conducted utilizing a non-percussive diamond drill to ensure absolute acoustic discretion. Upon reaching a precise depth of 5.2 meters, resistance on the digital console abruptly vanished. The drill plunged into an unidentified void exceeding 2.5 meters in height. Engineers immediately deployed an endoscopic IR infrared camera through the fissure. The visual data transmitted back to the control monitor brought the entire technical team to a standstill. An ancient red brick vault exhibiting structurally flawless load-bearing integrity sat directly beneath the royal foundation, entirely omitted from all current infrastructure blueprints, cadastral maps, and security audit dossiers of the Crown Estate. Commander of the SO-14 Royalty Protection Group, Marcus Headley, was immediately notified via encrypted channels and arrived at the scene with a rapid response unit in under 7 minutes. Adhering strictly to biological hazard protocols, the Special Forces unit equipped with oxygen-supplied respirators breached and infiltrated the subterranean sector. A staggering reality was gradually illuminated beneath the beams of tactical flashlights. This was a fortified brick tunnel system, constructed in the 17th century during the reign of King Charles II, circa 1668. The subterranean network extended and intertwined like a labyrinth beneath the entirety of Windsor, establishing direct subterranean connections between critical assets, including Windsor Castle, Frogmore Cottage, and the Royal Lodge, a network that had been blindly overlooked by decades of the most rigorous institutional security audits. The crisis escalated to its zenith as SO-14 operatives advanced along the tunnel branch leading toward the foundation of Adelaide Cottage. Directly beneath the floorboards of Prince Louis's bedroom, at a precise depth of 6.2 meters below ground, security forces uncovered a subterranean bivouac. The structure was fabricated entirely from acoustic-absorbing and thermal camouflaging materials. Forensic evidence at the scene confirmed the intruder had evacuated mere hours prior. Field hydration packs bearing the current week's production lot codes. unconsumed dry rations, alloy folding chairs, and most alarmingly, an ultra-high magnification optical observation system fixed to an antiquated ventilation shaft aimed directly at the microscopic crevices beneath the bedroom's wooden floorboards. In the corner of the encampment, Marcus Headley seized an evidentiary dossier that exposed the total collapse of the royal protection apparatus. Hundreds of close-angle photographs documenting the precise private movements of the Princess of Wales, a surveillance log meticulously chronicling the internal routines of the Wales family over a 24-month period, and analytical maps identifying the security blind spots of Adelaide Cottage with guard patrol intervals explicitly marked in red ink. Recognizing this as a catastrophic institutional security breach, Marcus Headley immediately activated Protocol Red Evacuation, a supreme security directive mandating the total lockdown of local airspace and the severing of regional telecommunication signals. The Prince of Wales assumed command of his family's security protocol with the clinical composure of a crisis manager. In absolute silence, William and Kate personally awakened their 3 children. George, Charlotte, Lewis. There was no panic, no screaming, nor any display of emotional hysteria. The entire tactical evacuation was executed with military precision. Princess Charlotte, aged 10, exhibited an acute comprehension of the situation's gravity that far exceeded her years. She shed no tears, autonomously complied with all directives from SO-14 officers, proactively double-checked the safety locks of personal items, and maintained absolute composure. Under the impenetrable protection of heavily armed tactical units, the 5 members of the Wales family were escorted into an armored Range Rover Sentinel convoy. The motorcade pierced through the nocturnal fog, permanently abandoning Adelaide Cottage to relocate to a top-secret safe house. The residence initially selected as a symbol of the endeavor to provide a normalized childhood for the heirs had officially been tainted by a lethal security vacuum spanning 2 years. On the very night of the emergency evacuation, while the armored convoy was still in transit, Prince Edward, Earl of Wessex, and Forfar was urgently appointed by King Charles to spearhead an independent inquiry into the cadastral records and architectural history of the Crown Estate, serving in his capacity as the auditor of the archives, yet holding absolutely no vested inheritance interests in the estates owned by the Prince of Wales. Edward conducted the review with the meticulous clinical objectivity of a forensic investigator. Convening with a team of senior archival specialists in the Royal Archives, situated within the Round Tower of Windsor Castle, Edward began dissecting every cadastral blueprint restoration log and treasury ledger dating back to 1668. Through the cross-referencing analysis of ancient vellum maps, historical court construction diaries, and modern digitized geographic data supplied by MI5, the root cause of the institutional oversight was bitterly exposed on paper. This subterranean tunnel network was originally commissioned as a covert escape and aqueduct system for the royal family during the political turbulence and the English Civil War of the 17th century. However, a systemic failure occurred in 1992. During the massive renovation and reconstruction of Windsor Castle, following the historic fire, the Crown Estate Management Board established an infrastructure audit committee. Operating under budget cut pressures from the Treasury, this committee made a highly bureaucratic decision. They restricted security audits solely to surface structures and primary residential zones prone to fire hazards, deliberately bypassing deep penetrating radar sweeps for infrastructure systems labeled as decommissioned. The tunnel branch leading toward Adelaide Cottage was struck from the Registry of Facilities, requiring periodic monitoring by civil servants of that era, effectively transforming it into a forgotten legal blind spot beneath the earth. Utilizing trace data from the evidence log cross-referenced with the mask media access control addresses from the optical equipment seized underground, Edward's investigative team, in close coordination with the Cybersecurity Command, successfully isolated and positively identified the intruder Malcolm Hendricks, 47. A former head librarian and architectural conservation specialist at a museum in Kent. In cyberspace, Hendricks was not an assassin. He operated an anonymous online pseudonym, Windsor Truth Seeker, dedicated to propagating extremist architectural analyses and conspiracy theories regarding royal estates. Edwards' forensic audit report elucidated the suspect's modus operandi. Hendricks leveraged his archival research expertise to cross-reference ancient cadastral blueprints legally accessed at the National Archives with his custom-built ground-penetrating radar data. He did not breach the perimeter from above. Employing silent manual excavation tools, he infiltrated via an abandoned agricultural ventilation shaft situated over 1 kilometer outside the police's electronic perimeter, fencing meticulously burrowing for months. He constructed a subterranean base 6 meters directly beneath Prince Louis's bedroom, without triggering a single seismic sensor thermal camera or surface warning system operated. Edwards' exhaustive audit dossier concluded with a damning indictment aimed directly at administrative gross negligence. This was a catastrophic systemic collapse of the Crown asset management protocols. Bureaucratic loopholes dating back to 1992, compounded by a subjective over-reliance on surface-level security technology, had engineered the perfect conditions for an obsessive individual to maintain extreme proximity to the direct heirs to the throne for 24 uninterrupted months without detection. At 06:00 a.m., before the morning sun could burn off the dense fog, Senior Inspector Sarah Wright of the Metropolitan Police officially assumed jurisdiction of the case directly from the SO-14 commander. Armed police units, in coordination with the Royal Engineers Command, immediately deployed military-grade ground-penetrating radar, conducting comprehensive sweeps across a 5-kilometer radius surrounding Windsor Home Park, to isolate all viable subterranean escape routes utilized by the suspect. A no-knock warrant was swiftly authorized. Counter-terrorist specialist firearms officers executed a tactical raid on Malcolm Hendricks' leased property located precisely 3 miles northwest of Adelaide Cottage in the Datchet area. However, as the special forces breached the door with sledgehammers, the residence was found entirely vacant. Hendricks had absconded mere hours prior. At the scene of the rental property, which Hendricks had converted into a miniature intelligence command center, investigators seized an additional cache of materials that stunned the Privy Council server racks containing thousands of gigabytes of geological radar scanning data, large format map printers, 3D printed architectural cross-sections of foundations, and most perilously intensive architectural research dossiers targeting other core royal estates, including the Sandringham estate in Norfolk and Balmoral Castle in Scotland. An analysis of the manhunt timeline revealed a disastrous fracture in law enforcement procedural protocols, a loophole in the submission and approval process for the emergency search warrant between the Thames Valley Police, the Territorial Force, and the Metropolitan Police. The unit responsible for royal security generated a 45-minute jurisdictional dispute. This fatal administrative delay provided ample time for a hyper-vigilant individual like Hendricks to detect telecommunication anomalies, pack his most critical storage devices, and vanish into London's public transit network. Hendricks's evasion escalated the case from a civilian intrusion incident to an imminent national security crisis. The reality that an obsessive suspect possessing comprehensive architectural blind spot maps of multiple royal estates remained at large placed the Parliamentary Intelligence and Security Committee and the royal household on unprecedented high alert. At the top-secret safe house on the outskirts of London, where the Wales family was temporarily relocated, the psychological fallout of the security breach began to manifest beneath a veneer of composure. While there were no public disputes or displays of panic in the presence of protection officers, the institutional trauma had profoundly and directly impacted the routines of the 3 children. Prince Louis, aged 8, suffered recurrent night terrors concerning noises and monsters beneath the floorboards, actively refusing to enter rooms lacking natural light. Princess Charlotte, aged 11, developed an obsessive-compulsive psychological defense mechanism. She formed a nightly ritual of personally inspecting all door latches, hinges, and security sensors within the residence before sleeping. Meanwhile, Prince George, bearing the weight of his position as second in the line of succession, manifested silent anxiety by constantly monitoring the positioning of close protection officers, teaching himself to assess blind spots in every room to ensure the safety of his mother and siblings. Witnessing this brutal premature maturation and the irreversible psychological toll on his children, the Prince of Wales faced a historic institutional decision. Adelaide Cottage, the residence that once represented the endeavor to maintain a normalized, nature-oriented family. Life had permanently become synonymous with infiltration and risk. William convened an emergency conference call with the Crown's legal counsel, issuing an ironclad directive: initiate the constitutional paperwork immediately to permanently seal and strike Adelaide Cottage from the operational real estate portfolio of the Crown. The legal battle and subterranean infrastructure restructuring had officially commenced. The clock atop St. James's Palace struck precisely 02:15 a.m. Inside the Privy Council archives, where the atmosphere is rigorously maintained at a constant temperature and humidity to preserve documentation, a tense silence prevailed. Amber light from the directional halogen system reflected off rows of sealed steel cabinets housing centuries of constitutional texts, cadastral maps, and Crown asset demarcation deeds. Presided over directly by the Prince of Wales, an emergency session of the Institutional Security Steering Committee convened in total isolation from all external telecommunication signals. Attendance was strictly limited to personnel holding top-secret clearance, senior commissioners of the Crown Estate Management Board, the permanent secretary to the Home Office, SO14 Commander Marcus Headley, alongside supreme legal advisors from the Supreme Court and the Privy Council. Seated in the auxiliary advisory section at the corner of the mahogany conference table, Princess Charlotte, now 10 years old, silently observed the entirety of the proceedings. Dressed in standard school uniform with a dark blue cardigan, Charlotte exhibited a clinical composure and acute awareness far exceeding her age. She did not appear as a child requiring shelter following a chaotic midnight evacuation, but rather as a generational successor, directly witnessing how the institution operates when confronting an existential crisis. Charlotte meticulously documented document reference codes into a small notebook, observing how her father, the Prince of Wales, and her great-uncle Prince Edward scrutinized every clause. At the age of 10, she was beginning to comprehend that the incident at Adelaide Cottage was not merely a private residential intrusion, but a catastrophic structural governance failure, posing a direct threat to the integrity of national security. The Prince of Wales initiated the session by directly citing the audit regulations codified within the Crown Estate Act 1961 and the Sovereign Grant Framework. William abstained from issuing any emotional statements regarding the safety of his children or the psychological trauma inflicted upon the Princess of Wales. Every argument was purely concentrated on legal obligations, operational protocols, and bureaucratic negligence. Pointing to the preliminary SO14 report, William spoke in a cold, measured, and absolutely lethal tone. The omission of a 17th-century brick-vaulted subterranean tunnel system connecting directly to 3 high-tier royal properties for 34 years, dating back to the massive infrastructure audit following the 1992 Windsor Castle fire, cannot be justified by any technical pretext. This constitutes a total dereliction of duty in public asset management, a security vacuum engineered entirely by the bureaucracy of the Crown Estate Management Board. Following specialized consultation from Prince Edward, who clarified that the 1668 subterranean architectural blueprints were erroneously misfiled by civil servants in the 1990s under obsolete agricultural drainage systems instead of royal security infrastructure, the Prince of Wales invoked Section 8 of the National Security Prerogative Framework. This decisive action comprehensively stripped the current civilian contractor entities of their operational authority. William demanded the immediate transfer of all management, surveillance, and maintenance jurisdiction over subterranean infrastructure within the Windsor Home Park sector to the Royal Special Forces Command and the Ministry of Defence. Charlotte paused her writing, looking up at her father as he affirmed the core tenet of institutional governance before the visibly perspiring senior officials. The perimeter of security must never be reliant upon serendipity or historical assumptions. Any administrative negligence that cultivates a threat to the throne must be met with permanent legal expulsion. At 11:00 a.m. the following morning, a formal administrative inquisition was convened in the Kensington Palace Treasury Committee Room. The Prince of Wales personally chaired the session with the entire Crown Estate Executive Board, including the Chief Executive Commissioner representatives from the Metropolitan Police Command and the Ministry of Defense. Upon the expansive conference table, William placed 2 cross-verified dossiers, authenticated point by Prince Edward and the forensic audit team. The first dossier, a cadastral map and schematic of the subterranean escape system commissioned under King Charles II in 1668, explicitly detailing a 400-meter load-bearing vaulted tunnel branch driving straight toward the foundation of Adelaide Cottage. The second dossier, the Comprehensive Security Audit Certificate and Infrastructure Operational License, personally authorized and signed by the Chief Executive Commissioner of the Crown Estate in 2022, containing a clause reaffirming Adelaide Cottage fully complies with the highest-tier security parameters. No structural blind spots or high-risk subterranean configurations exist. The Prince of Wales turned each page, placing a forensic magnifying loupe over the intersecting coordinates. He demonstrated the absolute centimeter-perfect alignment between the location of Malcolm Hendricks's subterranean bivouac and the branch tunnel that the Management Board had administratively stricken from the surveillance registry. The Chief Executive Commissioner attempted to mount technical defenses to mitigate liability, citing that antiquated surface-penetrating radar technology could not pierce chalk layers deeper than 5 meters, and that the infrastructure maintenance budget had been slashed by $2.5 million pursuant to government austerity policies. William severed the explanation with a single sharp rap of his knuckles against the wooden table, the sound echoing hollowly across the room. He deployed his ultimate legal leverage, the Serious Crime and Public Order Act, cross-referenced with modern interpretations of the Treason Act. "You are telling me," William articulated, his gaze as piercing as a blade, "that the board saved $2.5 million by foregoing deep ground penetrating radar sweeps, and the price of that austerity was compromising the physical safety of the direct heirs to the throne for the past 24 months. Every security certificate you have issued for Adelaide Cottage is hereby declared legally null and void, effective immediately." Confronted with an impenetrable matrix of historical evidence and ironclad legal argumentation, culminating in the accusation of engineering an institutional threatening security vacuum, the entire Crown Estate Executive Board found themselves without recourse. They were compelled to tender voluntary resignations on the spot, sign formal affidavits acknowledging administrative malfeasance, forfeit all operational performance bonuses, and accept institutional liability to finance all security restoration protocols from the organization's contingency reserves. On Monday morning, inside the Privy Council chamber at Buckingham Palace, King Charles III presided over the ratification of a supreme decree. Present at the session were the Prince of Wales, Prince Edward, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, the Home Secretary, and senior MI5 representatives. Before the monarch lay the latest intelligence dossier submitted by Inspector Sarah Wright. The report confirmed a chilling reality. Digital forensic analysis of Malcolm Hendricks's abandoned hard drives proved he had not only tunneled beneath Windsor, but was actively utilizing open-source software to render 3D subterranean structural models of the Sandringham estate and Balmoral Castle. The fact that this fanatic remained at large, possessing full architectural schematics, constituted a ticking time bomb, directly threatening the survival of the royal family. King Charles turned to the drafted Royal Prerogative Decree on Estate Sealing and Subterranean Infrastructure Restructuring, submitted by the office of the Prince of Wales. There was zero margin for compromise or hesitation. The sovereign looked up at the Prince of Wales. William stood at attention, hands clasped behind his back, his expression conveying nothing but the rigid resolve of a leader enforcing order. King Charles took up his Mont Blanc fountain pen and methodically applied his signature to the supreme decree. The sealing officer approached, melted the red wax, and pressed the embossed seal of the Privy Council onto the parchment. The sharp impact of the stamp against the table echoed cleanly through the absolute silence of the chamber. The Royal Prerogative Decree officially enacted military and legal directives with permanent effect. Creation of a new authority, the immediate activation of the Royal Subterranean Infrastructure Commission, Operating under the direct jurisdiction of the Ministry of Defence, assuming total operational control over all subterranean structures beneath Crown-owned assets. Decommissioning and permanent sealing. Adelaide Cottage was officially struck from the Sovereign Grant operational real estate portfolio. The entirety of the residential zone and its adjoining perimeter was subjected to a permanent administrative seal strictly prohibiting any future civilian, military, or commercial reuse. National Cadastral Audit. The enforcement of a mandatory directive to conduct comprehensive deep-ground penetrating radar sweeps of all foundational systems, subterranean infrastructure, and historical escape routes across every Crown-owned estate nationwide. Immediately following the promulgation of the Royal Prerogative Decree, the 33 Engineer Regiment, the British Army's specialized unit for explosive ordnance disposal and subterranean structural neutralization, was deployed directly into the Windsor Home Park perimeter. The campaign of physical nullification officially commenced. Over 5,000 cubic meters of military-grade hydro-expansive concrete were pumped under high pressure directly into the subterranean infiltration points. Upon contact with subterranean moisture, this material autonomously expanded, permeating every fissure of the 17th-century brickwork, entirely filling and solidifying the 400-meter tunnel network. Under the rigorous supervision of special forces, the structural integrity of Adelaide Cottage was transmuted from a residential dwelling into a solid bunker, permanently stripped of its habitability and consigned to architectural oblivion. The Prince of Wales's family officially re-established their residence at a newly fortified safe location equipped with a multi-tiered security apparatus comprehensively audited both on the surface and to a depth of 20 meters underground. However, despite the achievement of absolute physical security, the psychological aftershocks of the subterranean breach remained a brutal reality the royal family was forced to confront. Institutional trauma had etched itself deep into the subconscious of the young heirs. Prince Louis continued to battle night terrors of creatures and noises beneath the earth. Princess Charlotte developed a state of exceptional hypervigilance, personally inspecting magnetic lock systems twice every night. Most consequentially, Prince George, the future inheritor of the throne, cultivated a habit of silent observation, routinely requiring SO-14 officers to brief him on the security perimeter schematics of any location he visited. George's premature maturation was the cold price the institution had forced him to pay in the wake of this security hemorrhage. The Adelaide Cottage case was concluded on paper through a sealing decree and the systematic purge of a bureaucratic apparatus. However, the manhunt for Malcolm Hendricks, a rogue operative holding ancient architectural secrets while hiding in plain sight, persisted relentlessly. The new security paradigm behind the royal walls had been established. There would be no leniency, no blind faith in historical assumptions, and absolutely no tolerance for fatal margins of error. Has the Prince of Wales permanently secured his family's safety by sealing a historical loophole with military concrete? Or has he merely paused the countdown clock while an obsessive fanatic scrutinizes the blueprints of the next estate? The tunnels beneath Windsor have been permanently suffocated, yet inside the flawlessly guarded corridors of the monarchy, silence had never felt so inherently dangerous. In a sea of videos, I am so glad YouTube managed to bring this one to you. We pour a tremendous amount of care into researching every single detail of these royal histories. I know using a TV remote takes a little extra time, but your like and subscription are the ultimate motivation for our team to keep creating careful, high-quality stories for your screen. Thank you so much for your support.